Hey, what's up, guys? Jay Martin here. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're having an amazing day so far, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. If you get anything out of this video, feel free to give this one a like and subscribe to the channel for more personal development content. So, this is a really important one for me. The 6 things I wish I've learned in my teenage life. Have I known these things I'm gonna list out for you during my teenage life would have made me much more poised and navigate my happiness a lot better. I have no regrets to say the least, but I do hope this list saves you time rather than just figuring things out on your own. So, number one, you're a byproduct of your environment. So, you know when your parents or whatnot tell you to be careful with who you hang out with? They're right, okay? There's actually a lot of research backed up by science on this, and I've got a video on the power of association if you're interested in seeing that, but as early as I could remember, I was exposed to a lot of things I shouldn't be doing, right? I valued thrill. And it's cool, isn't it? Doing things you know you shouldn't be doing. It's part of growing up. And I do suggest you try things as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical. I understand the hypocrisy if anyone wants to call me out on that, but you're either going to be praised by slamming that Mountain Dew, smoking weed, and playing extra hours of video games, or being a hard worker in and outside of school or your field of work and acquiring different skills. Which, by the way, both things are rad. I have no moral judgment if you decide to spend your free time doing one thing or the other. I've had my fair share of the first bit and I freaking loved it. But where I'm getting at is, we want to fit in and inspire whichever crowd we're surrounded by. So, my question is, which type of people do you want to be praised by? Number two, reading is everything. Now, I assure you, I've never read and completed a book in my entire school life. But the first time I picked up a book and completed it, it was just this newfound, passion to seek knowledge. And not the useless books I was forced to read at school. I'm talking about real books. Things that you could read and apply to real life. This is gonna sound over the top, but I believe once you consider yourself a dedicated reader or learner, if you're a religious reader, you do not need a formal education. Obviously, there's an extent to this. School does a great job forcing us to memorize instead of understand. Understanding is a thing that you really want to know. And just back to the second thing I wish I've learned. If you want to understand how to become rich, there's tons of books on that by millionaires and billionaires across all timelines that literally give out a blueprint on how they did it. If you want to understand how to be happy, how to actually gain a sense of purpose in life, you can read about that. If you want to get fit, there's tons of books on that. There's a quote I highly agree with by Naval Ravikant, and he says, "Free education is abundant. It's all over the internet. It's the desire to learn that's scarce." Anything you could possibly think of. There's people that spent decades into that practice and wrote it in a piece of paper that you can instill and download into your brain and gain all of that information and knowledge in just a matter of hours or days. So I hope you consider this one, guys. It's actually cool to be a nerd these days. And if you haven't heard, all the nerds are being put on a pedestal and they get all the dough. So be a nerd. Number three is just don't be afraid to be yourself. There's no one way to act. Everyone is a snowflake. Everyone has their own experiences, their own upbringing, and their own unique way of thinking. You shouldn't be bogged down because you think someone else might not like you. I often refer to the idea of equipping yourself with an authentic human being filter. If you know you're being completely you and someone doesn't like you or appreciate your way of viewing things, then hey, that's great. Now you know your values aren't aligned with each other and you no longer need to interact with that person, and that decision alone is under your control. You can decide who you want or who you don't want to be with in your life. And just to add on top of that, because I really want to over communicate what I've learned on this, I've thought through it a lot. Ultimately, first of all, there's like 7 billion of us, and the fact that we can find our tribe, so to speak, has been easier than ever. So ultimately, what you have to do is find people that align with your core values and keep them. If you want to add another name to that list, then hey, subscribe. I'll gladly be your friend. But if you find people with the same values as you have, then the little things won't matter. There won't be any conflict or drama when your values are aligned. And that's the biggest thing I've noticed when people argue or fight. They just don't view things the same way. So that's the third thing I've wished I've learned sooner. Apply this to your relationships. Don't chase everyone. Rather, just find people that match your values. Trust me, you'd rather have friends that you know are going to be there for decades of your life rather than having a whole lot of friends that will just last for a few seasons. So, number four, give more, expect less. I'm just gonna be vulnerable right now. I grew up a lot of noise in the house, a lot of arguing and fighting, and just being on edge. I honestly believe that's done something to me. I don't even know what it is, you know? Just the conditioning in my upbringing, moving to a lot of places, a lot of different schools, just people come and go. And because of the fighting, I wanted to be kind and generous all the time, even though there's times I shouldn't be so gentle to certain people. It affected my behavior because if I wasn't kind, I believed it would result in violence. And when it came to relationships, I wasn't able to go all in because I was just conditioned at a young age, people come and go. And so give more, expect less. Actually expect nothing. If you want to be loved, then just love more, you know? Not even in intimate relationships. Do this to all types of friendships as well. If you want to receive things from people, then give more first. Eventually, in a long enough time scale, the universe will reward you for it and give it back to you. And by the way, there's people out there who give, but they give with expecting something in return. I just want to take a second to emphasize that give with no expectation. Karma is real, and it's practical when you do good for others and don't desire anything back. Because when you give something just to get something back, you're a manipulator. The chips fall where they are. If it falls, great. If it doesn't, you're not providing enough value. This is great business advice, relationship advice. It's everything. Number five, and oh boy, I wish somebody told me this when I was growing up in school, but if you're lazy, you're just disinterested. So you aren't lazy, it's just not your thing. I'm sure there's other things in your life that pulls you. As Simon Sinek, author of the book Start With Why, says, when we commit to ourselves to a higher purpose, passion is the result. When we work hard for something we don't believe in, it's called stress. I think everyone has something they don't need to be reminded by that they love, and other people considers it as work, or something they just can't fathom doing with as much passion as you. So, I was called lazy a lot by my teachers, all through grade school, all the way up to college. I was an atrocious student, and for the longest time, I believed them. I believed there were other voices in my head that were not my own that were telling me that. And it's tough when all your teachers and especially classmates don't want to do group projects with you because they don't think you can add value sharing work with them. But hey, I made a conscious decision school wasn't for me and I wasn't going down that path. I was self-aware and I quadrupled down on all of my strengths and we're here now. I'm pretty happy right now. So, number 6. Here's my last and final one for you guys. Long-term patience, short-term speed. Do things quick. Only about 5 to 7 categories really matter in life. Don't major in minor things. So do things quick. Speed is the game. Life is short. We're dying one moment at a time. Just embrace it. Be grateful. Spend it with people you love, doing what you love. But at the end of the day, have a perspective on what it all means in the grand scheme of things. That's where the patience part plays out. We all want things fast, but no one could compete against you when you're doing something you're passionate about. So there you have it, guys. The 6 things I wish I learned in my teens. I hope at least one of these things strikes you. Let me know down in the comments if it did. Feel free to drop down the things you wish you knew earlier as a teen. I'd always love to know. Been your boy, Jay Martin. Peace and love.